You're listening to the Esoterics Podcast, hosted by Joe Figueres and Fioraliz Franco.
Hey everybody, welcome back.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. And we are back today with our friend April Eckweilen.
Hey.
Hi April.
Hello.
We are so excited to talk to you today. If anybody listened to the last episode that you were on, you made reference to some of your explorations, or maybe I made reference because I love that and asked you to be on this episode again. So we love that.
I'm excited.
Yeah. What do you have going on, Fee?
I recently had a reading with my friend Grace, and she recommended an app that I wanted to let other people know about because it's free. It's called Time Nomad, and you can go in there, plug in your astro information, time of birth, all that stuff, and it will tell you the cool general stuff like where the moon is at right now, but also what transits you might be currently experiencing. Because if you are on social media and you'll get astrologers that, if you're plugged into that kind of stuff, you'll get astrologers that are talking about like current transits, but it's like, well, what does that mean for me? It's cool because then you could just look at what's going on, look at that transit, and then just Google the transit and see what that actually would mean for you.
So it tells you specifically what transits are happening for you based on your chart information, not just everyone.
Right, exactly.
Oh, nice. So they're personal transits. I always love that. Whenever I'm struggling with anything, I always look up and I'm like, what the hell's going on in my chart?
Right. What are the stars doing now?
Right. Right. Some people just ask Tracy in the group. It cracks me up. People are like, what in the fresh hell is happening?
What's going on?
Yes, I think we're all a part of Tracy's Shine Bright group.
Oh, yeah. I know. When people are in there freaking out over what's going on with the stars right now. Yeah.
That cracks me up. All right. We have a new moon in Scorpio coming up, and I don't know if anybody's feeling it. I don't know that I'm necessarily feeling it, but I do feel the need to go deeper, which is dive deeper into the depths of shadow and all that good stuff. So maybe people will download your shadow work class and workbooks.
Oh, yeah. So I have, those are still available. I still have, those are all pre-recorded. That shadow work 1, 2, and 3. And then I do have the ancestral veneration guide that is available for instant download. And I will link all of those in the show notes. But yes, this is the perfect season. If ancestral veneration's coming up, that's a whole thing. And I've actually seen that question asked a lot recently. It's been asked in the context of like a white person asking if they can set up an ofrenda. Which is like ancestral veneration does not belong to one culture or one community. So anybody could do it. Yet, we call it ofrenda. I mean, you're welcome to call it an ofrenda. That's fine. It's just an offering is all it means. So yes, if anyone's wondering, but if you don't have any idea where to start or you want to make sure you're doing it right, which I will explain to you that there's really no wrong way to do it, but I do have that guide available and it's pretty simple to get through. I talk a lot about if you want to get into history, there's that stuff in there, but there's a lot of practical stuff, including rituals that you can do to help you connect with your ancestors as well.
I love that. That's good. It's really is a really cool time of year to dig a little deeper into your psyche too, because psychic abilities are heightened. I'm seeing a lot of glimmers. Oh my God, the synchronicities are off the freaking hook. Anybody else experiencing synchronicities like crazy?
Oh, I don't know if I can say. I will look out for it and then I will note and get back to you.
Yeah. Pay attention. What about you, April?
Starting to a little bit, but you were really right about the whole like this time of year, not only for like the shadow work and that transitioning and stuff, but with, our ancestral work and everything. I've been pretty much focusing on those two things.
Yeah. And maybe that's because the ancestors are coming through. I know that I was told that when I found office space, that my grandma, it's not my grandma, it's my great grandma, and I don't know her name because there's all sorts of reasons why I don't know this beautiful woman's name, but she has me call her bisabuela, which is grandmother or great grandmother in Spanish. And I had this flash of a vision in my head, and then boom, when I found it, I was like, what? Shut up. So just things like that are very cool right now. I love it when psychic abilities are heightened.
I will tell you, I think when the candle magic that I was telling you about, when I was doing that, a lot of hits were really coming through pretty quickly, really easily. So yeah, I can see it with that for sure.
Yeah. And I know earlier we were talking about readers seeking, or people seeking the insight of readers is kind of down right now. But I think that also might be another reason, because people are just psychic themselves, and they're, if they have their decks, their card decks and their modalities, they can pretty much stay focused on what the answers are from within.
Yeah, I do think I personally like the external confirmation when if I read something for myself, like I want to know what you see too. But no, I do agree. I have felt though, as soon as we started moving into Scorpio season, like I'm currently looking for some kind of ceremony or some kind of circle to join in the near future as a participant. Like I don't, so that's on my radar.
I mean, it does, and you both can probably relate to this, and it does get, sometimes you just want to be the student.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like I don't want to teach all the time.
Yeah. I want to sit and not have any responsibility. That's all.
Same.
Just tell me what to do.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll chill.
I love that. Do you have any personal announcements that you want to share with our listeners, April?
No, we're just, we're getting ready for the shop's anniversary.
How many years?
4.
4 years. I remember when you opened it. It doesn't seem like it's been 4 years.
Yep, 4 years. So we're getting ready to do that, and I am getting ready to do some traveling up north, and part of that trip kind of is about the topic today of what we'll be doing along the way. So yeah, that's pretty much my goings on as of right now.
Sweet.
All right, good. Well, I want to talk about the topic today. I just have a couple of announcements. I now have office space in Portland. I am so excited. And this space is gorgeous too. It's not a co-working space. It's a building that houses all of these resources for people that are self-employed, and then everybody has their own office. Oh my God. It is the coolest space. And they have a freaking podcasting office available.
Hello.
I know, right? So when you come up, we can actually use that and maybe do like a live or something with video on YouTube.
Very cool.
Or guests or whatever. So I'm really excited. It's amazing, and I'm surrounded by an amazing group of creatives. The only problem is that it is it's a bit of a commute for me right now. So that means that I am moving. I am putting it out there to the universe of what I'm looking for. So hopefully I'll find it.
Awesome.
I still have space left in my virtual class, Introduction to Astronumerology. That's on November 24th. And it's just $33. It's not a huge, it's not a big investment, but there are some add-ons. So if you want like a 30-minute reading with the class, after the class or before the class, it's just a little bit more. And then a $60 or a 60-minute reading would be just a little bit more, where I actually read your astronumerology for you so that you have that. So when you go into the class, you're like, okay, now I know how this specifically applies to me. So that is on my website, and you can sign up for it. And again, it's a virtual class. And then I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about this, but I am going to start teaching tetralogy. To anybody who wants to learn to help their clients sort of at a deeper level, I specifically designed it for like card readers, intuitive psychic mediums, energy work practitioners, coaches, current astrologers, numerologists, and human design practitioners. So it doesn't matter if you're a newbie or pro. This style of chart interpretation is taught in like modules, and so it's going to help you design a soul blueprint for your clients.
Awesome.
Anyway, more on that later, but I just wanted to put that out there to start the manifestation process. That's something that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be teaching those both virtually, but primarily live.
Awesome.
So it'll start here in the Portland area.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yay. Thank you.
All right. Can we get started on the topic for today?
Okay, we're going to talk more with April. She's a witch practitioner and the host of the Stillroom's Grimoire podcast. And she has some adventures that I want to know all more about. Well, both Fee and I want to know all sorts of more topics about some of your spooky graveyard explorations.
Yeah.
My favorite.
All right, April. So I want to know, how did you get started with graveyard explorations? What prompted it, or where?
Well, where I grew up in upstate New York, Rochester, New York, we have a huge cemetery, very, Victorian type cemetery up there called Mount Hope Cemetery.
Oh.
Susan B. Anthony is actually buried there, and so is Frederick Douglass. So it's a humongous cemetery, and I just growing up would just go there and walk around and just look at everything and see everything. And of course, when you're a kid, you play all the little games and everything up there. Oh, did that statue move? And things like that. But I always liked walking through there and visiting and just seeing different things, different monuments and everything. And I think that's how it started for me. So way back when I was like in grade school. And then it just kept going.
And then at what point did you start to get an intuitive hit, or come into any kind of encounter with a ghost or an energy?
Not until much later into my adulthood. I would say trying to think of what year it was. My husband and I were in Savannah, and we went to Bonaventure Cemetery, and we kind of got a little, I guess you could maybe call it an intuitive, or actually more of a just a sign, just kind of a, hey, you're in the right spot kind of sign. And that was probably about I don't know, about maybe 2010, 2011, maybe.
Okay.
Around there. And then it just kind of happens when it happens. Because sometimes when I go and we're just looking, around at things, we're just literally there, just exploring and, just taking it all in. And then there's other times I'm going there for a specific purpose. I'm either trying to find something specific, or I'm in need of something that I want to take with me from said space. When we're trying to find certain graves, we did this in Amsterdam when we were there recently. My husband was looking for family members' graves, and I just kind of did all right, just point me in the direction. We had no clue. There was no maps. There was no computer that we could log in and see, put in a name and it gives you the row and this and that. There was none of that. And I'm like, all right, just point me in the right direction.
Yeah.
And
you ended up
in front of it, and you're just like, okay, thank you.
It's funny. I've done that before. So a few years ago, we went to New Mexico, but on the way we stopped in Tucson, where my husband's family is from. Mm-hmm. And because he hadn't been to his grandfather's grave since he passed in the mid 90s. And so we're there. And so we know he's buried there. And I'm trying to pull up a map and trying to find something. And it's not giving me anything. It's just, it gives me a general vicinity of maybe where it might be. So I'm like, this is not useful at all. So we're just walking. And then at some point I'm just like, okay, I just got to walk in this direction. And then as soon as I passed like this one tree, there it was. And I was like, oh, here it is. And I didn't think much of it just until you just said it right now. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's interesting because like when we were in Savannah, you all know the book and the movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so obviously it took place in Savannah. The cover of that book, and actually in the beginning of the opening credits of that movie, they kind of zoom in on this statue in the cemetery, and the statue is called the Bird Girl, and it was actually a statue in in Bonaventure on a family plot, but because of the movie and because of the book, too many people were finding it and visiting it and trampling on this poor family's plot, so they moved the statue into the museum. I still wanted to find the plot because that's who I am. And pay my respects, and so my husband and I we parked, we got out, it started to rain, and we're walking around with this little umbrella, and I'm like, all right, we're never going to find it. We're never going to find this. It's just not going to happen. Let's go back to the car. So we kind of made our way around, kind of like did like a little horseshoe, and we stopped just to kind of get our bearings, and the rain stopped. So we put down the umbrella, and I just happened to turn, and I was like, holy shit, there it is.
There it is.
And I was like,
I love that.
I'm like, oh, okay, again, thank you.
Yeah.
But I've had a couple of things happen in that, in that cemetery. One time I was looking for this one specific grave. I saw it in a book. It was two babies. Like the headstone, it was like from like the late 1800s, and it was just carved, two babies kind of sitting there together. And I'm like, I have to find this. I have to find it. And I had no clue, no name, no nothing. And we just drove around, and I just happened to look and go, stop the car. And there it was. So it's just, that's kind of like what we do now when we go and we're trying to find something. We just kind of
allow yourself to be
just
led.
let ourselves be led and see what we can find. And there are some times we go and we know exactly where we need to be and what we're there for. But yeah, it's.
So do you research these graveyards and look for, sort of the biggest draws or pulls, or do you just go in blind? How do you do this?
Yes, to both. Sometimes we just go in blind, not knowing, what we're looking for. We just want to visit it because, we found it, we saw a video on it, or we saw pictures of it in a book. I literally have a book that's called 199 Cemeteries to See Before You Die. Oh, and there are cemeteries all over the world. And I've actually checked off quite a few that are in that book.
That's cool.
But so sometimes it is just we find it and we're like, oh, this looks really cool. Let's go visit and let's go see what it's all about. Other times it is we are looking for a specific grave, which it's usually like either has some kind of lore attached to it, or it's just like this big, huge, monument. Kind of like 2 years ago, we went to Cleveland, Ohio, and we went to the cemetery there to see the Hasserat Angel. And it's this massive monument, has some lore to it, but it's just like, it was my bucket list. It was like, I need to see this in person. And so we kind of do it both ways. I know on this trip coming up, we have a couple of cemeteries along the way that have specific graves. We literally have a Google map that is nothing but cemeteries. So we're gonna do that, but then also we're going to go into Canada for the day when we're up there, because I like a year or so ago bought at an antique store a deed to a cemetery plot, an original deed that was signed in 1885 And then actually there's another deed in there that was signed in 1925 for this cemetery in Canada. So we're going to go and find those graves and pay our respects and, leave some offerings and do that. Cause I'm like, do I technically own these now? I'm just like, I don't know how does that work? But I have the deeds to your graves. So
there's something connected there. There's something. There's, you know what I mean? Or maybe it could be random, but I mean, I like to believe in the magic.
Oh, well, technically, well, there is a little connection. So with this, when I got it, and I keep looking over here because I have it over here. When I bought it from the shop, it was just in a sleeve. And so I just saw the front of it. I didn't open it. I didn't do anything. When I got it home, I opened it up and inside was another envelope with that second deed in it. So I opened that up and I was looking at it, and the lady who it was for was from my hometown in Rochester.
There's a connection.
So I was like, this is just too much of a coincidence that there's so we're gonna go visit them and pay our respects and leave some offerings and all of that. So
that's exciting. Is when you went to Europe recently, did you visit any graves over there?
We did. We went to a couple of cemeteries. One was, well, two of them were to find my husband's families. One was in a churchyard. That's where one of them was. That was the smaller one. That was like kind of an easy find. The other one was the one I'm just like, hey, show me where to go. That was a little bit more difficult. And then we went to this one huge cemetery there. And when we were in Amsterdam, the cemeteries over there are so different from over here. You go into ones over here in the States and you just see the stone monuments, whether they're tall or in the ground. And, some of them are a little elaborate, depending on when they were made and stuff. But over there really weren't a lot of the stone type monuments. There were all they looked like pieces of art, like stained glass and just sculptures. And they were just like literal pieces of art. They were breathtaking.
Wow.
And we just walked around and just our mouths were just always wide open, like, oh my God, look at that. Look at that one. Look at that one. This is gorgeous. And I was like, you'd never see anything like this in the States. I mean, you might see something a little bit more intricate, like maybe at the Forest Lawn Cemetery in California, for Hollywood, the Hollywood Forever, maybe like something like that. But that's really about it. Everything else is just stone, which is fine. But over there, it was just artwork, and it really expressed the person.
Yeah,
it really did. It was almost like, here, I'm leaving this for you. When you come here, you're seeing this, and it's me. And it was just the feeling was just completely different there.
It's like it captured the essence of the person.
It did. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It did. And some had like the people's pictures in it and little quotes and everything. And it was just, it was breathtaking. They literally were, it was like going to an art museum, really.
Yeah. When we went to Europe, it wasn't my choice to fly into Amsterdam and hang out in Amsterdam. I mean, you think you always, I want to go to Amsterdam, but it wasn't like, oh, I want to go. It was all the people that I was going with. I'm like, okay, right. And I will tell you that now it is one of the coolest cities. And then if you have the opportunity to go, to definitely make time for it, because that is one of my all-time favorite cities. It is the coolest city ever, and I'm so happy that I actually experienced it.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
I've never been, but my husband has, and he always talks about how clean it was.
Clean.
Yeah.
Just cool and fun, and people are friendly. very friendly in Amsterdam, and like
because they're high.
I didn't find them to be friendly. I mean, that was my theory. Like they're high, they're freely able to get sex anytime they
the red
want.
light.
I mean, there's they have boats that they can go on. It's just a happy
It
city.
is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So when you do these, like the more like graveyard explorations, do you use like special equipment at all?
No, I don't have any equipment that I bring with me. Nothing. I mean, other than like taking pictures on my phone.
Okay.
I don't have any equipment that I bring in with me. It is just me, and I will bring stuff as like offerings and everything,
Yes.
but I don't
nice.
bring any special equipment. I brought some cards before, and I've done like readings
cool.
while I was there, but yeah, nothing special, no like recorders or anything.
No EVPs.
No.
Have you ever gotten an EVP like naturally or just
On your phone, any like
captured
orbs and stuff?
on your phone?
Well, not on my phone. I've had a sensation that I received, a pretty powerful one, and this was probably like about a year or two ago. We decided to go up to Tallahassee. It's about a 4-hour drive from here. Because there's a cemetery up there, and supposedly there is a grave for the witch of Tallahassee. And I'm like, well, I have to go. I mean, I need to see what this is all about. And we went up there and we found it. And so supposedly they say that the reason why people said she was a witch, one is because her headstone was faced the other way. And two, her inscription on it is something from Edgar Allan Poe. So not usual what, you put on your headstone as a good Christian. So we saw it, walked around and everything. And I said to Steve, my husband, I was like, hey, I'm just going to go back over there. And I just want to sit with her for a little bit. And I left my little offerings, and I was just like, hey, I don't know you. I know you died young, but I don't know how you died. How did you die? And I immediately got this like pain, like right in my chest, and where I was like kind of taken aback by it. And I was like, okay, that was just weird. And I wasn't thinking at the time, and said, okay, thank you. I'll see you later. I appreciate your, this time. I went back to the car, and I, of course, got on Google and all that and started searching information about her. She died of heart failure.
Oh.
And she was young. She was only I think 23, 24. But I was like, holy shit. Okay. All right. Well, she told me.
Yeah.
Told me. But yeah, so yeah, I don't go in with anything but myself and any offerings or anything that
what
I
are
have.
Your favorite things to use as offerings?
I always bring coins, money for the gatekeeper. Whenever I walk into a cemetery, I always immediately drop some coins and say thank you to the gatekeeper. And then depending on where I'm going in there and what I'm doing will depend on what I bring. Sometimes I will bring like a mixture of herbs that I will leave. Sometimes I'll bring crystals. When we went to Sleepy Hollow in New York and I went to Hulda of Bohemia's grave, I left a crystal, I left some herbs, and then I left some grapes. I left grapes for the animals and for her. I have gone and I've brought wine that I've poured out, just water. But my favorite things to leave are, I will usually always leave a crystal of some sort.
Okay.
And then either I will pour something, or I will leave like some kind of plant material or food or something. Everything that's natural and naturally occurring in the wild.
That's very cool. You know what strikes me is that these souls have more than likely probably passed on. They're not just hanging out, right? I mean, unless they're earthbound, and there's typically a reason for an earthbound spirit. So it brings up instances of like multidimensionality, because if you're standing in front of a grave and you're saying, "Hi, I respect you, and can you just talk to me and tell me, how you died?" and then you get this, you get this response. I mean, what would make me go, well, are you still earthbound? Are you here, or are you in spirit and you're just communicating with this rando person? I don't know. It just feels like what keeps coming through in your stories is that you have a very specific connection to these souls, because I don't think that these souls are all earthbound. Like, you are meant to do this, and so therefore you receive all of these really specific and distinct abilities and opportunities to communicate with these souls that most people probably don't. That's just what's coming to me.
It's definitely different, and we've definitely had like some experiences. I had my first, I don't want to say it was a negative experience. It was a heavy experience that we had, and even my husband could feel it. And normally when we go into cemeteries and graveyards and stuff, he's just usually kind of like, oh, okay, la la la, we're just, he's geocaching and we're looking for stuff and all of that, and he's just like, yeah, this is awesome, I'm just following you around. But we went into this one cemetery in Pennsylvania that was abandoned, and it had been abandoned for quite about 10 years. The only upkeep was the grounds of it. Family members would just come in and just like mow the grass and everything. But the mausoleum was falling apart.
Girl, hard no. Hard
Okay,
no.
so
okay, continue.
So here's me. So the mausoleum's there. It was still, the building was still intact, but it was starting to, show signs of like the structure is not going to last like, 10 more years.
Yeah.
The stained glass miraculously was still all there. We were shocked that all the stained glass was still there and nobody busted it. But the glass doors, they were unlocked and open. So obviously I had to go inside.
I mean, the door was unlocked.
It was unlocked. They were just like, come on in.
Yeah.
That's your invitation into terror.
So you go in, I mean, you could see in like from, and I'm sure if you like you could probably Google and find videos that people have posted. Like I've seen stuff on TikTok. I think that's how I found it. If you just put in like, abandoned cemetery, Pennsylvania, I'm sure you could find it. And there's videos of people going in and showing what the mausoleum looks like. But there's like a lot of moisture and like just stuff on the walls and whatever. But there were flowers in there. And I thought for sure I was going to go in there and be like, oh, this is going to like smell horrible or whatnot. Nope. It just literally smelled like flowers that were like, just wilting or like a pile of leaves, just kind of like that earthy kind of smell. And I just went in really quick and just kind of scanned with my phone. I took a video and just scanned with my phone. And I'm like, I just started feeling really, really heavy, like really heavy. And I walked out and I turned to Steve and I was like, I don't feel that great. I'm like, I'm not like nauseous or anything. I'm like, I just feel really heavy. Like there's this weight that is just pressing on me. He goes, yeah, I do too. And I don't normally feel anything. And we walked around the building, and on the outside part, you could see where people had come and removed their loved ones. to inter them somewhere else.
Uh-huh.
But there were so many that don't have family,
Right.
that can do that, whether they had family around or the family didn't have the means to do that.
Sure.
So it was just this heavy, heavy feeling like we're here, but we're forgotten. And I was just like, this is like the first time I've ever said, we need to go. I need to leave.
Oh.
And Steve's like,
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
sure? I'm like, no, I can't stay here anymore. I am literally feel like I'm drowning. Like that's how much pressure was on me. And I'm in the car, I'm getting out my Florida water and I'm just like spraying myself and I'm holding some crystals and I'm like, all right. And we're leaving and I'm like, okay, I can't take you guys with me. But
Get out.
I'm like, I
now.
can't take you with me. However, I could maybe drop you off someplace along the way. I can't, but I can't take you and bring you someplace. I'm like, I'm sorry. And
just imagine you dropping them
one
off.
time I left the cemetery in tears. When it wasn't going to like a funeral that I was attending, I was just in tears, and that heaviness and that sensation. I'm like, those people, they are just, you could feel it. You could just feel the heaviness. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that anymore.
How long did it take for that heaviness to dissipate?
About 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, see. So have you ever thought about like engaging in any sort of mediumistic or doula activities and saying, go to the light, crossing people over, that sort of thing?
Yes, I've thought about it. And actually, like when we were leaving that place, my husband was like, hey, anybody who's here with us, please don't stay here in the car, but we can kind of drop you off wherever you want to go.
Yep.
Here's another cemetery. It was just, I was like, honey, I don't really think it works that way. But I was just like, I'm like, I think I just kept saying to like, just out loud of, try to move away from here, just try to move away from here. You're no longer attached to this place. You don't have to be attached to this place. Right. And that's just all I kept saying. And it took about 24 hours for me to start feeling better. I was wiped.
Oh, they were taking
we got back to the house and I just sat there just kind of like staring, like in a stupor, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone.
Oh. Have you ever called in any, like light beings to help, like ease that, like before? Like, how do you prepare yourself for going into these situations? Are there any preparations that you make?
Well, for that situation, I really didn't know what I was going to expect. I mean, I knew I was going into it, but I didn't realize I was going to feel the way I did. So I kind of like started to kind of like zip up my energy as much as I could kind of after the fact. But usually when I go in, I have my protections on me, and I kind of like will almost like put myself in like a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So to speak, and just be like, all right, I'm good. We're good. And what's interesting is, and we saw this when we were in Amsterdam, was right outside the gates of the cemetery. Every cemetery had a shoe brush to brush off your shoes so you don't take anything with you.
Oh, a graveyard dirt with you.
Yeah. But then here's me going, no, I'm getting graveyard dirt. I need this.
In my opinion, you were given ample opportunity to make the right decision. That's exactly why I said hard no. No, I'm not doing that.
What is graveyard dirt commonly used for in witchcraft?
A lot of things. It can be used for, especially if you have some from like, family graves, ancestral work. It's used for ancestral work. It can be used for protection, depending on where you get it from. Like say you, like a friend of mine had a court case. We went and we researched and found a grave for a judge who was a very fair, known for being very fair in their work. So we went and asked, hey, we have this case. Can we use some of your dirt? And got it, left our offerings, brought it back. I made a pendant for her that she wore. So just like a little bottle with that and like some herbs and some crystals in it. And the case ended up going in her favor.
Dude, that's cool as
Yeah.
fuck.
So it can also be used for baneful stuff as well. So it can be used. It can be used for that. I have gotten rid of workings. Well, it was part of the working where I had to bring it to a cemetery and leave it. I did that recently during a hurricane because I was using that energy. I wanted to use that energy on top of the other energy, and I was like, "Yep, here we go. We're good." So
you have to be very intentional with your well, I think we talked about this last time. You have to be very intentional with your spell work, but intention can run the spectrum. Yes, intention for extreme positivity or intention for lessons learned.
Yeah.
Fuck around, find out, right?
Exactly. And I have not only do I have like graveyard dirt, but I have like dirt from other places to like that aren't, cemeteries or graveyards. They're just significant places, so I can grab that energy. So cool. If I'm doing something that I need to pull that energy from, I can just, kind of sprinkle a little bit in or put it wherever I need to put it, and go from there. But I have like a whole shelf I have like on my ancestor altar, I have jars of dirt from each of their graves. Oh, so I have that, and then I have also another section like of my room where it's all just dirt from different places. And I have like crossroads dirt, from a place, and so when I need to use that, I can use that. I have dirt from the banks of this old creek where I used to live and play around in the woods because, that's what I did back then. And that brought me joy back then. And I can tap into that energy and use it for different things. So yeah.
I love using the elements of the earth to replicate or amplify joy, joy, goodness, love, all that. I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I've used like, kind of going back to like the graveyard dirt uses protection. Use it for protection. You can use it for, divination, things like that. Just all sorts of things. But what you take, you need to make sure you have permission to take it, and then you always want to leave something. You don't want to just take it and be like, okay, thanks, bye.
Right.
You wanna leave something for them.
That reminds me, I need to leave something for this tree that I have over in the park. And this dropped, and this is just
nice.
her moss and I love this thing, and it's really powerful. And every time I go over there, I touch the tree, and it all of a sudden it just shoots energy up through me. So, I've only taken 2 pieces, but I did give her a rock painted like a heart and said, "This is your heart of your tree." But I think it's time to give her something else too. So this is a good reminder.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Let me see. Okay. So how do you recommend someone gets started in cemetery exploration if they're interested?
Just go. Find something. You can research in your area. If you want to just go and walk around, just find find a cemetery in your area that you can just go into, because there are some cemeteries. They're mostly like the older ones or like the little small ones that might be, fenced off now because nobody's buried there anymore and people don't want, people going in there. But usually like the big ones, you can just go and just explore, look around online to find out if there's any like famous graves in there or any lore, that so you can go and kind of find it. But it is really just getting out and going. I mean, back in the day, people used to go to the cemeteries and have picnics and spend the day there.
Right.
Yeah. Even now, like especially some of like the bigger cemeteries, you go, people are like walking their dogs, they're jogging, they're bicycling through it, they're just, walking with friends, and it's
very peaceful.
Still kind of like, like almost like a park, but it's cemetery.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, you just start. You just go and you start. And I recommend doing some research if you want to get some books about certain, sites and everything. That's always a good idea. But it's just really just picking one and going.
Yeah.
Do you ever go at night?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gone at night. Yep. I've gone not
Joe's
around.
shaking her head.
Not around here. Not like locally around here, but like in Savannah, we went around the cemetery at night. Like Colonial Park, Laurel Grove. We went around those. The big ones like Bonaventure and stuff, and it's kind of like similar to the ones the cemeteries here. Their gates close at a certain time,
Right?
So you can't get in, so you have to abide by that. When I was little, growing up, we used to walk around Mount Hope Cemetery all the time.
Like rules here anyway. So.
Yeah,
we're not fans of rules.
Yeah. No, I don't. Rules? What rules? But no, I've gone. And explored a little bit. It doesn't bother me. Cemeteries and stuff, they do not bother me. And if I can find something that's cool, then I can find it. I mean, there's a tiny cemetery here that's in the middle of a parking lot of a shopping plaza.
I love that they have those in the South. I was like, what's happening here?
They just built stuff around them. Yeah.
They just built stuff. Right. It's like four or five graves, and they just built a shopping plaza around it. And so we just find them. We find them either by flipping through like social media and seeing videos. Like I said, we have a whole map, and even over in Europe, when we go back over again, I literally have a map of ones that I want to go see and monuments that I want to go see and everything.
Yeah.
So I only have one graveyard story, and I think it's probably the reason why I'm so like I won't go at night. So of course we're like in our mid-20s. And of course, there's alcohol involved, and we're driving to this local cemetery in the Lansing-ish area of Michigan, and it's called Blood Cemetery, of course, right? So it's got this ridiculous name, and I believe that the Blood is actually the last name of the people that owned the cemetery, but it's called Blood Cemetery, and there's lots of lore surrounding it. So it's me and like four of my friends, and we go to this cemetery at night, and the gates are open, and it's out in the country in the middle of nowhere with no lights. And I believe that it was being watched by the people that lived near there, right? They would watch for kids that were going to cause trouble. So we get in the cemetery. We're still in the car. Nobody's gotten out yet. Well, actually we were out because one of my friends swiped this I don't know if you guys remember, but they're banks, like piggy banks, but it was a rabbit, and they looked real, and they had brown fur and then like red eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, like old school rabbit piggy banks. Anyway, so somebody had put one on a headstone, and so one of my idiot friends took it, and I was like, dude, why did you? That's somebody's, right? Okay. Well, yeah. So the bunny was in the car, and I'm looking at the bunny. And I'm like, fuck that bunny. There's something about that bunny.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't touch it or anything. And all of a sudden, we saw these van lights behind us. And my adult logic says it was just the people that were in charge of caretaking the space and just wanted us to get out of there. But that damn van followed us for like 2 miles. Like it was very scary. And it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and we'd been drinking and everything. It was just ridiculous. So long story short, we get home and one of my roommates brings that stupid ass bunny up to the apartment. And I'm like, no, put it outside. No, I'm going to put it, here on the mantle or whatever. And it was like a couple days later. And I was in the living room by myself and I look, and I'm not kidding you guys. I'm not making this up. That rabbit's eyes were glowing red. And I said, "You're out of here."
Bring it back. Put it back.
I wanted to put it back, but I made my roommate, I'm like, take it back or throw it away. And he threw it out in the dumpster. And I don't know about what happened to it after that, but I was like, that's the most disrespectful thing you can do is take something off of a grave and you're just opening yourself up to trouble. And I knew that then. So that's sort of why I'm like, no, there's no grave. Cemeteries can be really beautiful and peaceful, but taking something or disrespecting graves, no, you're asking for trouble.
No, there's etiquette, going in there, even just like, general public etiquette. Right. Not even like coming from like a witchcraft, or practice, perspective. You don't take stuff off of the graves. You don't take any of that. You're respectful when you're there. And, that's why I tell people if you're going there to either obtain something like dirt, even if you find like you're at a tree and it's not even at a grave and there's like a rock or something there, you still want to ask and leave something. It's just like you always go in and you pay the gatekeeper, thank them. Wherever you're going, whatever business you have to do there, you're leaving an offering for whatever it is that you are removing, not stuff from, like trinkets or anything from a grave, but like dirt and stuff like that, or any kind of foliage or whatever. And then you're saying thank you. You just want to be respectful and, leave offerings. And like when I went and I left that working in the cemetery during the hurricane, I didn't know where I was leaving it. I just walked in, paid the gatekeeper. I happened to my eyes just immediately went to this tree and I said, okay, there. Went there, dug my little hole, put what I needed to put in there, covered it back up, left my offerings. I brought wine. I poured some wine out and I'm like, thank you so much. I appreciate this. I spent some time there and then I left and I had a little bit of wine left and I poured some out for the gatekeeper. I'm like, thank you very much. And I went on my way. It's respect. It's respect. So whether you're doing workings or using stuff or you're just going in and visiting, you just want to make sure you're respectful and know that, these people deserve their, your respect and your gratitude.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right.
Yeah,
Well, April, thank you.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. No. Cut. No. Do you have?
I've had several. So when I was a teenager, we used to go play hide and go seek at the cemetery here. It was actually here in Riverside. It's still here. Now they put gates around it so you can't get around it. But it's because it's those 1800s cemeteries with the big with the big headstones. And we weren't ever disrespectful, and we were always like, don't step on the graves. Like that was our rule. Like we do not step on the graves. Like we are here to play, but we're not here to be disrespectful in that way. So we would just that was our thing, was we wouldn't step on the graves. But the orbs that I would capture on my early 2000s digital camera was crazy. I still have the pictures somewhere, but yeah, that was I would say my first encounters with it. And then I've had you develop a certain type of relationship with a cemetery when you go there frequently. And my dad is buried in a cemetery that's not far from my house, and so we do go to that pretty often. And the one thing that like is, I don't know, just kind of always leaves an impression on me is just how these things continue to grow, right? And it's like, and duh, because people die every single day. But the way in which the cemetery just kind of grows and expands out, and how it is a business, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I'm of like the school of thought now, like after what I've experienced firsthand, I don't want to be buried. I don't have any inkling to be buried. Like I respect the dead that are buried, but I don't want to occupy more space on this world, on this earth.
Mm-mm. You want to be cremated?
Yes, I just want to be released.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be cremated too. As much as I love the earth.
Yeah.
I don't want to be buried in a commercial space either.
Yeah. And like the problems that we deal with, like with the cemetery itself, like it's a lot, but yeah. And it actually makes it really sad though too, to watch the cemetery grow around you, and to know like that when my dad was first buried there like 17 years ago, there were hardly any like spots filled around him, and now it's like full. And so just to watch that, it's very I don't know, I think it's grounding in a way of like, wow, it just really reminds you of the gravity and the frailty of life, and that no one has any time guaranteed. But also though, I do appreciate having a place to go to and to sit and to like spend time like energetically with my dad, like to say like, hi, I'm here to spend time with you. I'm here, just I'm thinking about you.
Urban sprawl is a lot different perspective when it takes place in a cemetery.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, April. Thank you for sharing the stories with us.
You're welcome. It's something I can talk about for hours.
Yeah, it's a fun conversation. It definitely is. It definitely is.
Well, friends, that means it's time to say goodbye. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share on your stories, subscribe, and leave us a review. Or if you're on YouTube, leave us a comment. It helps our podcast grow. And if we grow, that means the ability to do this work grows with it.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, April.
Thank you for having me again.
And all of our listeners, stay mystical, magical, and don't let anyone tell you what to do.
Except for the ghosts at the graveyard if they tell you to leave.
The gatekeeper.
Right. Bye.
Bye.